I think some people think that they believe that, oh, this is my value, this is my potential. If no one sees that potential, you can't ask someone to trust you and see what you could be when you're the only one that sees it.
And there's no proof.
There's no proof.
Right. So one thing I tell people is that sometimes you got to document these things for yourself, right? Because yes, you might know it in yourself. You might have even proven it, right? But people do forget. Sometimes you got to pull out the receipts yourself and tell them, hey, on XYZ, this is what I produced. On this was the result I got. On this, and that is why my worth is.
Yes, but there's a caveat to that, because you saying this is what you produce is different from this is what I produced and this is what it did to the bottom line of the business.
That's a good add-on.
These are also what people in my similar situation are doing, and this is what I do. I exceeded them or I matched them.
Right, correct.
But my pay is half of them. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Grind.
BTG!
Our podcast is for aspiring entrepreneurs, business owners, and motivated employees. So if you like our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our videos. I'm Alan.
And I'm Tosin.
And I'm Kay.
Well, I was thinking today, what do you guys think about, let's see, kind of like, how do I word this? Giving everybody a raise. Do you think it's well-deserved for everyone to get paid more?
No.
Why?
I'm just going to be quick. No. All right. Not everybody deserves a raise.
Okay, Scrooge McDuck. Why?
I mean, it's not about Scrooge McDuck. If we're in a business, it's all about what are you bringing to the table? You know?
What do you bring to the table?
I own the business.
Okay, so what'd you bring?
Without me, you ain't here. No, I'm kidding.
So you got all the loans. So you got all the loans. No, seriously. Expand on that.
So pretty much it's all about the value that anyone is delivering to the business. All right. Whether you're the business owner or you're the employee at the business, it's all about what do you bring to the table? And that's what should determine what you should get paid, not just because you think you should get paid XYZ.
But what if, okay, so my thing is like, you think you're invaluable to the business, right?
No, I shouldn't be that invaluable.
Well,
but
valued more than the rest, right?
No. From my perspective, if you're asking me personally, it's the amount of risk I'm putting in to have the business. So and that's what also gives value.
Right. So is your value, yes or no? Yes or no? No, I'm just kidding. Is your value to the business greater on average than the rest of anybody in the business? Just as an owner.
For most people, yes. For most owners, yes.
So then if your employees feel like this business will not run without me, and they feel that collectively their value is greater than yours, so who's right?
Now, are you talking about the employees as a group?
Just in general, they're like, Tosin can't run this
versus another one.
One.
I don't think anybody's replaceable. I mean, I think everybody's replaceable for the most part, even the owner. Right. Okay. I believe that everybody's replaceable at some point, at some level.
Right. For sure. People die all the time. They get replaced. So
that's right. If you've built a business that if you get hit by a bus and that business shuts down, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I'm having that mindset that, you know what, everybody should be replaceable. So therefore, one employee or one owner shouldn't think that they're the end all.
So it should be shared. Business. It should be a shared responsibility in the business so that anyone can coat. Basically, it should be SOPs.
Yes, but it shouldn't be like an even split or whatever it is. You know, everybody has different responsibilities, different roles, different creative skills they bring to this table, different technical skills they bring to the table. So all of that goes into kind of that evaluation of what their value and what they bring to the table is.
But I've been grilling you because you gave me a strong no.
Of course.
Hey, what do you think?
So, obviously, in this context, we're talking about value versus worth, right? And to be more specific, in the context of if you are an ambitious employee, and you're trying to get a raise, how do you justify, the value versus worth, right? But I'm kind of in alignment with Tosin from the standpoint that value is subjective, right? And here's the reason why I say subjective, because what I think I bring to the table is different from what Tosin think I bring to the table.
Yeah,
that's kind of
Tosin's mindset in terms of my value, it's my worth. And for him, my worth is what I'm able to invoice. So in other words, if he has a business and I'm able to do X, Y, Z, right? What is that thing that correlates to his bottom line? That is the worth that I am to him, if that makes sense. So I can say, hey, I can do A, I can do B, I can do C.
No problem.
And Tosin can say, that's fine, but I need just C. So I'm going to just pay you for just C.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because he can't invoice A and B, if that makes sense, right?
Right.
So that's kind of how I look at it.
So I asked this question because I had someone telling me about an employee thinking they deserve this and that. And, at an office I covered, and I sat the employee down. I said, so what do you think you're worth? They gave me the number, and I was like, no, that's your perceived value. Do you understand that other people do that and more and are getting paid what you think you're worth? So if your value is internal,
Right.
So you think that you're worth this much. I could think to humanity, I am worth $1 trillion, but that's actually my value. The humanity has placed a worth on my utilization and my ability to contribute until I prove myself otherwise, right? The analogy I gave was, in the music industry, right? Everyone thinks they're the hottest MC or whatever.
Yeah.
But the record in the streets are telling you, if you making hot lyrics and whatnot, nobody wants to hear that junk. Go make that mixtape and listen to it in your bedroom, because that's what value is right there.
Yeah.
You think you're hot. Worth is like, okay, you moving units.
Yep.
You're selling out, going platinum and numbers, or you're doing the numbers and the money's coming in. So we're willing to give up our income for an exchange to what you bring to the table. If we're not willing, that means that that doesn't match to us, and we think that we can get the same amount of value for less.
Right.
So if your value doesn't equal something to where we're like, okay, we're willing to give this, dollar amount or monetary amount, then it doesn't make sense for whoever to overspend. So the way to raise your worth is to add more value to it. So and
I like that you said that, because I think that sometimes people make this conversation an emotional conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And the reality is that if your value is not translating to a measurable business impact,
Yes.
you're not going to get paid more.
Of course not.
Because at the end of the day, I am a businessman. And if you're doing something for me, right, that thing that you're doing for me has to impact my bottom line in some way, shape, or form. And if it does not impact my bottom line, you can't come to me and say, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, so because of that, I need a raise. There's a reason why companies would go above and beyond. Think about Facebook, right? They poked Apple's top AI engineer.
Oh, wow.
And they gave him
or 600.
They gave him $200 million.
Yeah.
And over a span of 4 to 5 years.
Yep.
There is God.
And guess what?
Supermax.
So here's the thing. He went back to Apple. He went back to Tim Cook and said, look, this is what Facebook is offering me.
This is my worth.
Can you match it? And Tim Cook said, unfortunately, I can't match it.
Right.
And Meta said, come on aboard.
Down, yeah.
Now, you know why Meta did that? Because the AI space is getting so competitive.
That's right.
that Meta is looking at itself that, okay, you know what?
We don't want to fall behind all these things. Yeah.
If we fought, because if you think about it, when Apple came out with the iPhone, all this BlackBerry, all this Sidekick, all these things
in the same
Motorola, they got left behind, and eventually they went out of business, right? You know, anybody who knows anything knows that, you know, super intelligence is the future. And if you want to really, really be part of the future, then you need to make sure that you have the resources in the house. Now, that $200 million over the next 4 to 5 years for Meta, that could mean $5 to $10 billion.
Oh, you mean trillion?
He got stock options too, right?
Yeah, but the total compensation package is $200 million.
Yeah.
So that includes stocks and salary and stuff like that.
To us, they see a greater asset than the dollar amount. So if you buy a vehicle, right?
Yeah,
it's $30K, right? People think that, like, for me to buy that vehicle, I think it's valued at $30K. It really means that I think it's valued more because I'm willing to give away my money for something that will give me more return on investment. Because if you're going equal to equal, there's no incentive to buy it. The value that you bring has to be greater than the dollar amount that you command for someone to be able to give that up. Because, like you said, they think 200 million. This might be, you know, a couple of 200 billion. Like, we need to get him. This is going to take us here. So that's how you have to think of it. I think some people think that they believe that, oh, this is my value. This is my potential. If no one sees that potential, you can't ask someone to trust you and see what you could be when you're the only one that sees it.
And there's no proof.
There's no proof.
So one thing I tell people is that sometimes you got to document these things for yourself, right? Because yes, you might know it in yourself. You might have even proven it, right? But people do forget. Sometimes you got to pull out the receipts yourself and tell them, hey, on XYZ, this is what I produced. On this was the result I got. On this. And that is why my worth is.
Yes, but there's a caveat to that. Because you saying this is what you produce is different from this is what I produced and this is what it did to the bottom line of the business.
That's a good add-on.
These are also what people in my similar situation are doing. And this is what I do. I exceeded them or I matched them.
Correct.
But my pay is half of them. So explain
I think it's just to make sure you have a way to articulate your worth. Not just say, hey, this is my worth, right? You've got to have a way to kind of define it based on your company, based on your boss, because you got to know who you're about to present to. Right. Now, delivery and articulation is very important.
Here's the thing. Obviously, majority of, or not, let me not say majority, but some of our audience are ambitious professionals, right? Now, it's very easy to be able to articulate, you know, your worth when your job ties directly to the bottom line. Let's say you're in sales or a business developer. Now, for a role that, you know, for a role that your impact does not necessarily impact the bottom line, as a founder or as an entrepreneur and your employees are coming to you, what advice would you guys give people, or what strategies do you think people can implement to necessarily showcase their worth?
So to me, I would say you have to look at the position. Well, whatever earning potential or target goal that you have, there's one way to do it quick. You can go in your industry. There's somebody that has that title who's earning something about that. You have to now look, do I fulfill all of those? And that's what the industry commands. If you fulfill all of those roles, then that's one way to convey it to your employer or whoever it is as to this is what I really need to be compensated. Another way is to have a conversation with the person in charge of this or above you or whoever is making these monetary decisions for the company as far as giving you raises or compensation, and ask them, this is where I want to get to. What do I need to show you that I am worth it? Can we revisit this in this amount of time? so that I know that like we have had a conversation that this is what you require from me in order to be this. I have to take on these responsibilities off your plate or do this. Okay. Now we're on the same page. Now you have to make sure that, again, you document it and you have these check-ins, and you should almost be like, it's almost like you have it routine. So there's, when you go back to present to them, it should be almost like a no way that they can say no to you, because you fulfilled, not only fulfilled, no one likes someone, I'm going to rephrase that. It's not that you fulfilled what they said, but you should try and exceed. Because then you can, next time you don't necessarily have to go and seek it. They will see that you're someone who exceeds expectations, and they will voluntarily try to push you up because they see the value in you without, and think you're worth it without you having to go advocate for yourself again, because you've already done it the first time and show that you can exceed it.
What about you, Tosin? What inputs would you add?
I mean, let's use some real examples, right? Of positions that may not directly impact the bottom line. Let's use customer service.
Okay.
Right. You're just busy taking calls.
I mean, indirectly it can, but you know.
That's where I was going. But you've already stolen my thunder.
Actually, that's more directly than indirectly.
I mean, it's indirect.
Yeah, it is, but it's very close.
I think there's a way to, Alan said it best, right? If there's no way for you to figure out how to, document this thing, have a conversation with your supervisor, the owner, whoever it is, right? And set some goals.
Right.
Right. But in most scenarios, there's some kind of indirect path that you haven't, you can say, hey, just because the way I answer the calls, the way I'm friendly, I remember people's children's birthdays and whatever, and they like talking to me, just that impact alone makes customers come back and repeat. You can spin it in such a way that you position yourself like, hey, I'm going above and beyond when I'm answering the calls, and that's what's causing clients to, hey, resolve their issues, to be able to say, hey, you know what, I appreciate you, or leave good feedback, right? Because sometimes after some of these calls, we get, hey, how did XYZ person do?
And that's where I was going to go to, because in customer service, there is a thing called NPS, Net Promoter Score, right? And it's basically a way to track and see how your customer perceive you and how well you're doing, right? So being able to implement, because sometimes your company might not necessarily have the things for you to be able to measure your impact.
Right.
You might need to go above and beyond and find ways to create these things
that's actually
so that you can measure these impact, right?
So I was saying, to piggyback on both of what you said, because you basically arrived at the same thing I was going to say when he was talking, is that being someone who, hey, every time I speak to whoever, I always remember the name. Being proactive and saying, it would be a good idea if I create an SOP so that we write the name like this. So now everyone, standard operating procedures. So now everyone who works here knows the name. Like if you go to, there's some restaurants, I don't want to specifically name them, but when you come there, you feel like you're the president of the United States. And you're like, man, I'm tipping tonight.
Yes.
They got you from when you walk in the door. You come in, and who do we have a pleasure of speaking with? Immediately,
and they
write it up. They phone it in before you get to inside from the door. They go right this way, Mr. Allen, and this and that. There's three of you guys. And then when you walk by the car, they ask you, what do we celebrate? What's our reason? When you go to every step of the way, they regurgitate the same stuff, and you're like, man, I like this. Y'all get tip. Y'all get like 30-40% a day.
You guys have talked about those aspects. Y'all want to hear my own personal?
Go ahead.
This is actually my own, experience, right? Because I'm a firm believer that, especially in corporate America, hard work does not get you paid.
No.
Visibility and a relationship get you paid.
100%.
I remember the first real job that I had. When I say real, meaning like when I started making some good money. Right? I got, when I came out of college, I was working at a mortgage company, right? And essentially what happened was the job was a lock desk analyst. So basically, when people are locking their loans, I'm the guy that they come to lock their rate. And then any changes that they need to make, they would come to me. And it was pretty cool. And then, because the company was growing, they needed to have a manager. Like they call it, the position was a capital markets manager, right? And at the time, obviously, I didn't feel like I was qualified, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna shoot my shot anyway, because Michael Jordan said you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. You feel me? Okay, so I put in my bid, and it was a couple of other people. There was a girl that I was working with, Asian chick, and I could have bet my life on it that this girl was going to get the job because she was just extremely brilliant. So what ended up happening was, it was like 4 of us, so they interviewed us. And I was the third person to be interviewed. So I came in the room, I had my resume, I had all the achievements, everything. I had that in there. And I was ready to, tell them why I think that I'm the right man for the job. And I went in there, the guy there, I would never forget him, his name was Matt. And Matt was like, hey, Kay, it's like, have a seat. He's like, how's your day been? And I was like, oh, my day is good. And as I was about to start talking, he said, so you like football?
Right.
And
Relatable.
I said, yeah. He said, why? I said, oh, it's just something about it. And I was like, I even play fantasy football. He said, for real? Who's your starting lineup? And then I started talking about my starting lineup. He said, ooh, it's quite similar to mine. But so we went on and on talking about football. Then we talked about basketball. We talked about so many things.
That we didn't even have time.
We didn't have time to talk about the actual job.
But you know why?
So just check this out. So I'm thinking like, you know what? Because in my mind, I was like, are we going to talk about the actual job? So when we were done, he was like, hey, I got a question for you. Hey, like, how do you manage disputes? And I was like, well, I mean, when the managing disputes, it's all about relationship. Like, you want to make sure that the person feel heard, and you want to make sure that the person feel like, you have their back before they can even start to listen to you. He said, yeah, I kind of figured you were going to say that. He said, well, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks a lot. Boom. 2 weeks later, came back. You got the job. Wait, what? I got the job? So he was like, yeah, man, to celebrate, we're going to take you out to lunch. So we went to lunch, and I said, if you don't mind me asking, why'd you pick me? And he laughed. He said, the other, and because there were 3 people because you have to go through 3 different people. He said, nobody picked me except for him. He said, everybody else picked the Asian chick. He said, the reason why they picked the Asian chick was because they felt like she knew her stuff, but they felt like she was so rigid that they couldn't connect with her. And they didn't think customers could connect with her. And then it was like, he's like, with you, I was asking you irrelevant questions to see if you were going to get irritated and if you were going to be like, well, are we going to get to this interview?
So he was testing you.
He was testing me, and I didn't know. But me being a cool guy, I'm like, let's chop it up. You feel me? Yeah. And it goes to show you that in anywhere you are, relationship is important because there are certain rooms that people are talking, trying to decide who's going to get the next position. Yeah. And if you don't have somebody
who's going to get that
speaking up
raise
for you, you're not going to get that raise.
And I will say that in a lot of positions or interviews, before you get there, they already know if you made the minimum cut, right?
Of course.
The rest of it is, I'm trying to see who you are. That's it. Yeah, I'm being honest with you. I hire people all the time. I'm like, I ask about goals. Where do you want to be at? So that way in my head, I'm like, okay, how does this person feel in our culture? Yeah. Can we help them get to where they want to be at in life so that they're happy and it's a great culture?
Yep.
And I think a lot of people are so nervous that they forgot that part of the job is dealing with adversity.
Yep.
And so, and being a human being, right?
And dealing with personalities.
We need you to do your job excellently. But the most important part is that we need you to be trainable, coachable, relatable.
That's right. And another thing is, I know you guys are probably not going to agree with this, but office politics matter. Because
why
need,
would we agree? That's for
you
sure.
need influence, you need allies, you need timing, not just skills. Because a lot of time people, because remember that girl she got all the skills, but guess what she didn't have? She didn't have the allies.
Yeah. You formed the ally fast.
She didn't have the timing and she didn't have the influence. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, you got to learn how to play the game, man. Yeah. You know, if you want to make money, if you want to get that raise, right? Saying, hey, I did X. Don't get me wrong.
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly.
Sometimes.
What you have done in terms of productivity, that's baseline. Mm-hmm. Because everybody's going to do their job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's going to,
as they say, that's what the paycheck's for, right?
Exactly. So what's going to set you apart? And what's going to set you apart is those relationships, right? That visibility that you've positioned yourself so that people like, you know what? I see K is always doing this, always doing that. Why don't we, give him the role?
I will throw in a kind of a disclaimer there. You do have to actually do your job too.
And do it
You can't just be the homie all day and be cool with everybody. They're still gonna fire you.
You're probably the first.
Like you have to do your job. But if you're not the complete best at it, everyone falters. Is that you're adaptable, relatable, and you're growing in the position. They know that you're not gonna be perfect. Yeah. But if you're able to okay, I messed up this time. Don't make the same mistake 100 times because you're gonna be out.
Yeah. and you also mentioned something about value, right? Earlier that, everybody should be able to, not one person should be able to know how to do everything. But I am a firm believer that there are certain companies that you can play a unique role that if your value,
it makes it difficult to.
Oh my goodness!
You're still replaceable, but it's difficult.
If your value cannot be replaced, then it's non-negotiable in terms of when you come in and you say that you want to get a raise.
Yeah,
because then
we need him. You're right. They have to.
Oh no! By the time you do that to them, though, you can't. You set yourself up for.
They're gonna bring somebody in to learn all your work.
Hey, we've got an intern. We've got somebody else. Oh, we want you to run a team of 5
It's like this. If they know that you're valuable, then they'll keep you, right? Mm-hmm. But if they know in their heart that you're underpaid and you came to them genuinely, and then you're like, hey, I need this, and they're not budging, you feel your value is elsewhere, and you make that move, they're gonna be like, you know what, you're right. They will try and keep you. It's when you're like, I want this amount, and hold their feet to the fire that they're like, you got me once. Not gonna happen again. We're looking for your replacement today because we can't be held hostage. No one likes to be held hostage. Mm-hmm. It's different if you made it clear, right? You made it clear first, and we'll see. And you're like, look, you guys aren't giving me this raise. This is the offer that I get. And if they value, they're like, you know what? We've been playing her or him. Like, let's go ahead and make this happen. Are you happy now? But you can't do it again. You get the one get out of jail free. You do it again, they're like, oh.
Well, you can't hold their feet to the fire. But you can always call them out if you're underpaid.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So holding the feet to the fire you might be able to get away with that once. Yeah. Maybe, it's just.
And if you're working for a large corporation that has, a lot of money to do it, that's fine. If you're working in a smaller business, mid-sized business space, you also have to.
You got to assess
how the company doing. It's nice to get paid more, but if the company's struggling, what you gonna do?
You can't expect to get paid. What Meta is paying folks versus
the 200 million.
A small startup.
But also Meta, the bigger companies so end of the quarter, we got to lay everyone out. We got to lay, we got to lay 20% of y'all. Y'all got to go. And then when the next quarter comes, we got to hire 25%. We overlaid out.
But then you're not in that rehires.
Exactly. So because if they bring you back, they have to pay you more. That's usually what happens. So when you leave a company, I've noticed that you leave, and when they start recruiting again, sometimes they want you back. That's your time to demand more because especially if they let you go unjustly.
So Kay, can you just tell these ambitious employees out there, okay, what kind of, how do we summarize this on how to get a raise?
I mean, at the end of the day, you don't get paid on what you think you're worth. Mm-hmm. You get paid on what they think you're worth. That's literally
That's-
it. So your job is not to try and deliver value. Your job is to make sure that your value is seen, measured, and you have impact.
Right.
So that's literally what it's about. So for folks out there that are watching, I want to challenge you guys. If you leave your job today, do you think people will feel it? Because if not, you might need to change your strategy. So think about that as you're watching this. And, if this is something that you've liked, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And please, if you know somebody out there that is, that thinks that they are valuable, but they're not getting their worth, please share this video with them. It will be helpful. Once again, you can find us at gobeyondthegrind.com, where you can see all our social media. Please drop your comments in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. Appreciate you guys. Until next time.
Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.